Hey y'all, thanks for tuning in to season 3, episode 20 of the Peace Podcast. Just give me space to grieve, whatever that looks like. And so this is a tribute to my friend Shelley. I could have posted a million pictures on socials. I could have done, a slew of things to make a tribute to her life, but the way that I usually express myself the best is through words. And so I thought I couldn't go through the week after her death without speaking on grieving the way that grief feels to me, but also giving a tribute to the life that I am grieving. So, my friend Shelley passed away yesterday. She fought a very long and hard battle with cancer, and she texted me on my birthday in 2023 saying that she had to get a biopsy and that she was so sad to have to text me on my birthday. And I believe that about her, but she knows that I would rather know than not know. And the following day, she told me that the biopsy results came back and they were not the results that we had been hoping for. And she went through chemo and radiation, and everything looked like it was going in the right direction. And eventually, the cancer came back and it took her life. And there are so many things that I'm probably going to say on this pod. It's going to be just a stream of thoughts. I usually have the bullet points and the things mapped out, and I just don't have that today because when you're sitting in pain, oftentimes you don't have all of those buckets to put things in. There's just this one big bucket of grief, and you're processing it while you're experiencing it, and you just have to process what you're going through at the time. And the reason that I figured that sharing that part with you guys would be helpful is because I know that we all have grief in our lives. Like, death is a part of the human experience, it's a part of what we deal with as human beings, and it often feels like the worst part. And when I knew that she was put on hospice care, there were so many thoughts that ran through my head. I believe God to be a miracle worker. I believe that He could have performed a miracle in her, but I also know that His will takes precedent over other things. And my human flesh says I hate that His will sometimes involves death because of the pain that it creates for the people who are here. But then there's also that spiritual part of me that knows that death is not the end because He promises eternal life. And so that means that it's the end for our physical bodies, but there's going to be a reunion and a reuniting of the people that we love. And so when I knew that she was put on hospice, all of those things ran through my head, and it always was Shelley and my dance to be like, we need to get together more. And, she has 3 kids, I have 3 kids. And so it was just this difficult process of trying to find the time, energy, and just scheduling. And I would reach out to her and be like, does this date work? Or do you work on this day? Or I'm off work on this day. I want to come see you. And there would be, a myriad of things that she needed to do, or she had a date and it didn't work for me, and so on. And so one of the things that I just encourage you from that is pick the date, make the plans, even if it's only an hour of time where you're still able to be in their presence is worth the drive, the trip, the getting ready, and Shelley was the type of person that I actually read back through our text messages, and one of the messages said, I look haggard right now, so just so you know, this is not going to be a picture taking experience. And I texted back, I'm in sweatpants and a sweatshirt, so we're doing this together, friend. But that's just the type of person she was. So even if it's, a girls' night in with a movie and you're in your pajamas, make the time to do the 1 hour, 2 hour visit, because when you can't, that's the thing that you'll be wishing that you could have back. Just that hour, just that, time that you weren't able to find in your schedules. So we didn't always make the time, but when we made the time mattered. It was sitting and talking and just listening to one another. And something about Shelley that I loved so much is that people called her blunt sometimes, but she was just honest. Like, if she felt a certain way, she was going to say it. If she believed something to be true, she was going to tell you. And there was not a hold back approach when it came to that. And I loved that about her, because if you asked her advice, she was going to tell you that advice. And it wasn't going to be sugar coated, and it was going to be kind but honest. And that is one of the best things about her, is that it was kind and honest always. And Shelley and I were friends. We became friends in high school, and we're talking 25 years of friendship, probably more than that, because it was like 27, 28 years of friendship. And we had these spaces in time where we didn't see each other, but like I said, when we did get together, it was so intentional. And so something else that came up for me is, put your phone down and be intentional with the people that you're with. We could have scrolled on our phones the entire time we were together, but phones were on the counter and conversations were flowing, and it was just enjoying each other's presence. And I'm thankful that we were that way with one another, because the memories that we created in those spaces were rich. They were rich because they were real, and they weren't distracted memories. They were just that. Like, the memories were the only thing. There wasn't anything else to keep us from each other. And Shelley and I had some really good ones. We went to Cancun for senior week. Everyone else did the Myrtle Beach trip because that's what everyone else did for senior week. But Shelley was, in her very honest and kind way, over it, because she didn't want to do that. And I had done it the year before with my senior friends. And so we did Cancun, and our parents were nuts for letting us go, but we did it, and it was just the two of us. It was supposed to be a group of friends, but it ended up just being the two of us. And there were two near-death experiences on that trip. Me almost drowning when a parasailing rope that was attached to a boat got wrapped around my waist when I was swimming in the ocean. And there was whale blubber and blood and lots of rubbing alcohol. And it was just a train wreck. And that was our first day there, not even our first full day there. And then right when we were getting ready to leave, she saw blood because our next door neighbor had pierced his nipples while he was intoxicated, which was wild, but hey, we were 18. And she saw the blood, and the blood made her queasy, and she passed out, and we were on a balcony, and there's nothing to catch her underneath, and I had to grab her from passing out over the balcony. And so we didn't have cell phones then. We weren't calling our parents to tell them all the crazy things, but it was a wild ride. But we were able to laugh about it later. And that's something that I'm looking forward to when I get to where she is, to talk about this experience and how, it's a wild ride, but we can always laugh about it later. And I don't have the later in the physical form to laugh with her, but I have the later that I'm looking forward to later, to be able to do that. And something that I guess came to the top for me was, take the pictures. We have pictures from that trip. We have pictures from a lot of our memories. Write them down in your journal. You'll want to go read them later. Save the text messages so you can go back and hear things in their specific tone and voice, because you are going to miss the person. You're going to miss them in the physical form, but any piece of a memory that you have of them is going to be so important when they aren't here. And yesterday, when I got the text message, which I knew that we were coming close, because when she was put on hospice care, I did go to see her. And that was a really tough experience, because the Shelley who is always in there, is the one who wants to do things for herself, who doesn't need a bunch of people helping her, who is fully capable and independent and just this force to be reckoned with. That was still in there, but watching her husband want to help her when she wanted to do things on her own was really hard to watch because she was struggling to do the bare minimum things. And walking from the bathroom and just being able to sit up in bed were so painful for her during that time. And I watched her in that state and I just thought to myself, you know, you complain about what your body looks like, and she just wishes that hers would work. You complain about, you know, the things of your life that at this stage in hers are the most minuscule. You complain about having to cook dinner for your kids every night, but she posted weeks ago that she just wished that she could. You crave a break from your routine, and in her most vulnerable state, she just wishes she could have hers back. And so that makes me encourage you to be grateful. It is so hard to be a mom. It is so hard to be working and coming home and taking care of your kids. It's hard to be a stay-at-home mom. It's hard to be a good wife. It's hard to be all of these things. But when you get that ability robbed from you, all you're going to want to do is to be able to do these things. So instead of having the thought process of, I have to cook dinner for my family, or I have to go to all of these practices during the week, yes, it's hard, but you also get to. And promises that she made to her boys about being able to go watch them play baseball, she had to break them because her body wasn't physically capable of sitting and watching them play. And the smallest thing that she was able to do just a couple of years ago, she couldn't get her body to do in the last couple of months of her life. And we have able bodies, and oftentimes we just gnash our teeth at the things that we have to do on a daily basis instead of just saying, you know, I'm not owed the waking up this morning that I received. And so the fact that I get to do all of these things is a blessing and a gift, and something that people like her who have entered the end of their lives just don't get. And, you know, yesterday when I got that text message, I had to allow myself to just have an emotion, which is really hard for me because I try to be the I'm fine person, which is super annoying to the people around me and to myself because I'm not always fine, I'm not always okay with what's happening. And I wasn't fine when I received that text message. I, you know, hyperventilated. I had to walk outside. I couldn't breathe. And I found myself in my sobs when my 7-year-old walked outside to check on me, trying to hide my face from him because I didn't want him to know I was crying. And I found him feeling like it was his obligation to say, Mommy, it's going to be okay. He sat with that emotion with me. He shed tears too. And then he just kept saying, it's going to be okay. And two things surfaced for me from that. The first being, let your kids see emotion. Let the people around you know that you are a deeply feeling person. Don't hold all of that in. You can have the conversation. You can tell them, my heart hurts right now, but it's okay because it's okay to be hurt. It's okay to be disappointed. It's okay to be angry that this is happening. It doesn't make the situation okay just because it's okay for you to have those emotions. And that's a conversation that I got to have with him during that experience. And more often than not, I cry in the shower so they don't have to know that. But I'm also not exposing them to the rawness that is emotions, and almost making them feel like it's not okay for them to have emotions. And it is, and they should, and I shouldn't rob them from that experience. So if you're in tears, you can be in tears in front of your kids. You can be in tears in front of people because you're a human and humans have emotions. And then the second thing that it brought to the surface for me was When we're children, we're trained to experience emotions the same way that our parents experience emotions with us. So when we're hurt as kids, it's okay, shake it off, you're fine. Or when we're experiencing something emotional, you need to calm down because everybody wants you to be in the emotional state that is the most convenient for them. Everybody wants you to be okay because when you're okay, then they get to remain the same way that they've always been with you, and they don't have to figure out what to do with a space that you're not okay in. But in that moment, I said, it's not okay. And he's going to tell me that it's okay because that's what I do to him, but it's not okay. And sometimes what he's feeling is not okay either. And so instead of making him feel like it has to be okay, this is an opportunity to train him how to let other people experience emotions. Because I don't want him to be an adult who tries to get rid of the emotions that make him feel uncomfortable, which then causes the people around him to want to hide their emotions and be people pleasers because they don't want anybody to be inconvenienced by their own emotional needs. And so I told him it's not okay, and it's not going to be okay, because no one can bring her back. No one can give the doctors the right answers. No one can perform the miracle anymore because there's no miracle to be performed. And no one can give those boys a life where their mom is back, or her husband a life where his wife didn't die. And that's not okay. I didn't say that to him in those exact words, but I wanted him to know that no amount of him rubbing my back and making me feel like it was going to be okay is okay, but that's also okay. And so I just explained to him, I'm very sad right now, and it's okay for me to be sad, and you don't have to try to fix it because it's not your job to fix it. You can't fix it, and that's okay. I appreciate you for trying, and also sometimes you have to hold space for people to be sad. And so hopefully one day when he's sad or the next time he's frustrated, I can give him that same thing in model form so that he sees that he doesn't have to push away his emotions. It's okay for him to be seen in a vulnerable state because sometimes life is hard. Sometimes stuff just overwhelms you with emotion. And this is one of those times for me. I can talk about it in one way and be like, I know where she is and she's smiling in heaven and all the sunflowers are there because that's what I know to be true. But then also at the same time, I can say, well, when I get married, who's going to stand in her spot? And I can say, she was supposed to be here. And I can say, it's not fair that her boys have to be without their mom. And I can say, she was a wonderful mom and she was a wonderful wife, and her husband doesn't deserve to feel the pain of loss. And I can say none of that is fair. And it's still not okay. But I also can feel those things because that's part of this process. Like one day I can feel that, and I mean, it's only been like 24 hours, but one day I can feel that her enduring of this thing was a faith builder, and that I 100% for sure know where she is because her faith was tested and built during this process. But then 2 breaths later, I can say, but why'd she have to hurt so much? And why'd she have to endure so much? And why do her boys have to be in such a hard space? Because her body was annihilated by something that she didn't ask for. And if you're in a space of grief, I just want you to know that it's not going to be linear. It's that big bucket with all the things inside of it. And it's okay for that space to be chaotic, and it's okay for it to not look the same from one day to the other. And it's okay for people to not understand. And it's okay to have the memories that you have and yearn for more of them. And it's okay to get frustrated at yourself for not making the plans. But it's also okay to say, what a great friendship that I get to look back on. What a great idea of, or example of the idea of longevity in friendship. And those things can can hold me and sustain me even when there are days that I'm going to want to scream because I just want to, get her text message on next Sunday that says happy birthday, because that always happened, or a random text message on a Tuesday in the summertime that says maybe I should give away all of the toys outside because I'm out here with the kids and they've been out here for 5 minutes and they're bored. So perhaps we should just pack up all the things and give them to people who want to play with them, because we knew what it felt like to be a mom to just kids in general, and we could make funnies about those because we understood each other's unique experiences. And I don't usually record on emotion, and I hate that I'm crying in front of people, but also at the same time, I told myself that words are what I use, and people need to be able to see people have emotion so that they know that it's okay to have emotion themselves. And this one stings a lot. And, my sister texted me earlier to check on me, and she knows the anxiety is real, and, you have to self-regulate and all of the things. And then, I told her, man, this is tough, because there's like a part of me that says she's free and she's not in pain and she received the promise of eternal life. And my God, don't we all wish that we get to have that one day? And there's a part of me that is joyful that one day I'll get to hug her again and see her smile again. But there's also a part of me that knows that all of the days that I have here left, that I'm going to have to miss those things, because I don't get to have them in their real form. I get to have pictures and memories of them, but not the actual person. And then there's what I'm going to end with, because I don't want to cry on your screen for much longer, but there's also the part of me that struggles with the fact that her boys are old enough to remember her, but young enough to not know all of the things that she did behind the scenes to create the life that they had, and all of the worries that she had if she was doing it right, or if she was messing them up, or just the fact that there were 3 boys and she was a boy mom to the fullest. And at the end, I asked her if she wanted to record a video for them, and she said that she was planning on writing them letters because she didn't think that she could record the video because she couldn't get through it. And I fully understand that at this point. But I also hope that even without her here, that they understand that every conversation that I had with her when she was going through the process of understanding that there wasn't anything else that they could do, every single conversation that she had from the start of knowing that this is the path that she was on, ended with and started with her worry for her husband and her boys, because that was her life, caring for them and cooking for them and fixing their many bloody and broken body parts and things, because boys, was her life, in the baseball field and all of the things that she had to stop doing because her body wouldn't let her anymore, is exactly where she wanted to be, because it's who she was. Like, she just was present and involved and a part of it. And if I could and am recording something to put a timestamp on what I know to be true today about what she would have recorded if she could have, she would have definitely told them that they were deeply loved by her. That if she had a choice, that she never would have left them, because that was the greatest fear that she had. That when they get into relationships one day, that she hopes that they become men who are just like their dad, who would stand by a woman and help her through the hardest parts of her life, no questions asked, who would try to save her even during the weeks that they knew that no one thought that she could be saved. And she would hope that for them, and she would tell them to be just like him because he's amazing. She would tell them to not waste time in relationships that aren't going anywhere, because my God, did we have conversation after conversation about those relationships and how people weren't treating us the right way and how we so desperately wish we could change them, but also the perspective of knowing that she ended up with her husband after all of those relationships and that he was well worth the wait, and that she would have gone through every one of those bad relationships again to have him, and to want her boys to know that one day that they're going to have a girl who isn't treating them properly, or a girl who doesn't understand the grief that they experience, and that that's not for them, because someone who has the type of relationship that she and her husband had is what's for them. And she would want them to know that she's never not with them, that every baseball game she's watching, every basketball game, every honor roll, every prom and dance and graduation and college visits, and all the things that she was afraid to miss, weddings and grandkids and all of the things, that she didn't just leave them, that she is watching over them, and that she wishes that she could be here to endure that, but that she's saving a place for them, and that she knows that it's not the same, but that her mom is an amazing woman who will stand in any gap in the process. And lastly, she would probably say, listen to your dad and don't do stupid stuff, because stupid stuff is going to have stupid consequences. And so I'm just going to end there, and I would just encourage you that if you're in a space of grief, let yourself grieve. If you are in a space where you've lost someone who you held so dearly to your heart, hold on to the memories that you kept with them, but also allow yourself to go through the emotions of being okay with the fact that they're in heaven now and pissed off tomorrow that they were taken so soon. Even if you didn't see them for years and they were still so important to you, don't shame and guilt yourself for not scheduling the girls' night, or not just getting up and walking over or driving over to their house when you had a free minute. Don't shame yourself, because I can promise you that, much like I know how much she loved me, I know that she knew how much I loved her, and I know that those people close to you know exactly how much you love them. So allow yourself to feel those feelings, but also give yourself some grace for giving what you could give. And if you still have the people here, take the trip, make the dinner date, go in your PJs, whatever it is, because eventually those are going to be the only memories that you have to hold on to. And so I'm going to end there, and I thank you for tuning in. I thank you for listening to me cry and letting me pour out the emotions as a tribute to my friend Shelley, because she was a big part of what I know to be true about friendship, and I will always miss her because of that. So I appreciate you guys for tuning in, and I'll see you again next time.